everybody, and welcome to Storm Reads. And today I am going to finally try to get to my March wrap-up. I think I did pretty good in March, considering like the first couple of weeks I was pretty sick and didn't really feel like reading a whole lot of anything. I read 13 books in the month. I had 10 4-star, 1 to 3-star, and 2 2-stars. So overall, I didn't do too bad. This month, I'm going to try something a little different. I got this idea from Leanne at Literary Diversions. She does like a tops and bottoms. And then I'm going to add my own little bit on it and just tell you about the other books that I read in the month. But instead of actually talking about them, I'm just going to give you like the rating that I got for them. And sorry if you hear my computer going off. So I will start out with, I did have two D and F, so they're not really part of my tops and bottoms. I just wanted to mention them. I did try to read Sweet Pea by CJ Scuze, I think it is, or something like that. And I just wasn't a very big fan. I don't know if it's just because I was sick, I wasn't in the mood for it, but it's about a teenager who was a serial killer, and I didn't get real far into it, but I don't know, the main character just wasn't appealing to me, and so I just went ahead and DNF'd it. Maybe I'll try it again, I don't know, because like I said, it could have just been how I was feeling. And that's kind of the same with the next one. It's 29 Seconds by T.M. Logan. And I also was listening to this one, and I think I got about halfway through it and I quit. It just didn't seem like it was going anywhere, and I was kind of bored listening to it. It's about a lady who had her bosses sexually harassing her, and she has a chance to do something about it because this guy offers her a chance to get revenge on somebody. And so she does this, and then I guess it's like consequences after that, but I didn't really get far enough into it to see exactly what happened. But I just didn't really care, I guess, so I quit. Maybe I'll try it again, I don't know, but for right now, I DNF'd that one. And so for my tops for the month, I have 3. I have 2 that were mysteries, and then 1 was middle grade, since I did try to participate loosely in both March Mystery Madness and Middle Grade March. And so I wanted to mention at least 1 from each of those, but I had 2 for the mysteries because that's what I read the most of, I think. Or the ones that I liked the most, I guess. Like I said, I had 10 4-stars, and what I'm doing is I went through and I looked on the compile rating that I do for this. It's a rating system that G from Book Roast made, and I've been doing that this year to see if I like it or not. And it makes me kind of think a little bit harder about like what I'm rating things. And so some of them got a little bit higher rating than others, and so that's what I'm going with. The ones that they're still 4 stars, but they were higher up 4 stars. So like if I was to give like a 0.5, they might have been like 4.5 instead of just 4-star. But I'm not doing the halves anymore. So my first book that I'm going to talk about is The Blessed Bones by Catherine Jeffries. It's number 3 in the Detective Claire Jeffries series, and this one it's based in a polygamy town, which I find kind of interesting, and it's kind of, I guess, the seedier side of that. I never thought I would be really that interested in anything to do with like polygamy or anything, but it's kind of interesting. And the detective Claire, she used to be part of the fundamentalist group that is there, and she ran away when she was like 18, 19, somewhere around there. So therefore she's considered a fallen girl, and not very welcome in the town. And in the book one, she goes there because of a family emergency, and then she ends up staying there and becoming the like chief in Albert. And she's hitting a lot of resistance. A lot of people aren't wanting her there. She sometimes wonders why she decided to like stay, but a lot of it is because she has family there and she wants to try to get to know them. Like, she's got siblings that she doesn't really know because she left and they were really, really small, and or not, maybe not even born and stuff. So she also likes Max Anderson, who is the deputy chief of the neighboring town, and he's what you call a lost boy because he was kicked out of the fundamentalist group because they don't want to have too many guys in the town, because then they won't have enough ladies to be able to have more than one wife. And so he was kicked out when he was 18 by his father and given $200 and left to fend for himself. And he has come back and everything, and so she's kind of wanting to stick around because of him. And she's been getting a lot of threats, but she's trying to just let that slide off and deal with the things in town. And one of the things is there's a lot of unsolved cases because the other police that used to run the place, they just kind of swept things under the rug, so to speak. And so she's dealing with a lot of these cases, and one of them is an abuse case, and she's trying to locate the people that were involved in it. And it was like 10 years ago, so they're a lot older and might not even be in town. And while she's doing that, she gets called in to another case. Max calls her in because they found a body. It's mostly bones, and he knows that she's been looking for a girl since the book one. She's been looking for this one girl that has been missing, and so it could be her bones. And so he thought he would go ahead and bring her in. And whenever they discover more, whenever they are trying to get her bones out, that she was pregnant when she died. And so now they're looking at like this whole other thing and trying to find any missing girls that were pregnant. Maybe this isn't just a one-off thing. Maybe there's something real hinky going on, and there could be other girls. And they do find that there are some missing girls and everything. But the one thing about the town is they're really hush up and closed lips because they don't want you in their business, and they especially don't want an outsider in their business. And if a girl runs away or disappears or whatever, then as far as they're concerned, they're not part of their family anymore. And so therefore they don't want to talk about them. And most of the time, even if the girl disappeared and didn't do it on their own, they just assume they ran away and have become a fallen girl, and they just don't really think about it anymore. And so it's really interesting and stuff. I don't know if what's in the book is actually how towns like that are ran. It does make for an interesting story anyway. And this is fast becoming one of my favorite detective series. I've really enjoyed each one of them. I can't wait for another one to come out. I really like Clara, and I like Max and the whole deal, and how Clara is dealing with trying to find an in with her family and get to know some of her siblings that she doesn't really know and things like that. And it's really good. I really, really like it. And another mystery that I read that I really, really enjoyed, or I listened to this one, and that's Murder on Bank Street by Victoria Thompson. It's number 10 in the Gaslight Mystery series. And it's a cozy mystery, a historical cozy mystery, and it's one of my favorite cozy mystery series. And I'm still way behind with it because I think there's like over 20 books in the series, and I'm only on number 10. So I got a ways to go. But this one I really enjoyed. I did, and I will mention it later, but I did listen to another one in this series. But this one was my favorite out of the two, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that in this one, we find out who murdered Tom Brandt. And see, the series is about Sarah Brandt, who is a midwife, and it's back in like the turn of the century New York, and she was married to this high profile doctor, and he was murdered. It's been 4 years that she's been on her own, and she is a midwife, and she's fine being on her own. She comes from a wealthy family, and she wouldn't have to if she doesn't want to. They actually would like her to come back home, but she likes her freedom that she has, and she wants to just be on her own. And being a midwife, she gets in the middle of a lot of things, and she has found her share of dead bodies and things like that. And she has also befriended the detective that always seems to run into her, Frank Malloy, and they've struck up a fairly decent relationship, even though he's like lower class and she is from a wealthy family. He really likes her, and you can tell that she kind of likes him, but it's the class dynamics back then. He doesn't think that he's like good enough for her, so they've never breached the gap between just like friendship. And he feels bad that she's never had closure with who killed her husband, and so he's decided that he's going to look into it. And it come to find out that it might have been the father of one of his patients, because they think that he did things that inappropriately that he shouldn't have as a doctor. And so it's really hard hitting for Sarah, because she doesn't believe any of that stuff, that her husband would have done any of that. And Frank is real leery about letting her in on things, because he doesn't want to hurt her feelings. If her husband really did do these kind of things, does he really want to tell her and stuff like that? So I really enjoyed this one. I really liked the storyline behind it and everything. I love Sarah Brandt, and I like Frank Malloy. He's a rough and gruff policeman, and I really, really like him. And so yeah, it's a series that I would definitely recommend if you like historical mysteries, if you like cozy mysteries and stuff like that. I really think you would like that. And then the middle grade book that I'm going to put in my tops is also a mystery. So I guess you could say all three of my tops were mysteries, even though this one was a middle grade. And it's Jane Austen Investigates. It's The Abbey Mystery by Julia Golden. And this one is a young Jane Austen, and she gets sent to be a companion for Mrs. Cromwell. Her older sister was supposed to, but there was an incident at the beginning of the book that hinders her from being able to go. So then they decide to go ahead and just send Jane Austen. And she's a little bit more precocious and everything, and they tell her that she needs to be on her best behavior. She brings her journal so that she can write in it, and so she can be able to write down her whole experience, of course, since it's Jane Austen, and then she'd be able to tell her sister all about what happened whenever she was there. Her brother had been there before, and he told her about this ghost that's in this old rundown abbey, and kind of dares her to figure it out. And so, she's one that's going to take up the dare, and so that's one of the first things she does, is to try to see if there really is a ghost in the abbey. Even though she's not supposed to go there, it's off limits because there was an incident there once before, and they don't want anybody in it because they could get hurt. But she, of course, doesn't let that stop her. And while she's there, she also finds out a few other things that are going on the Cromwell estate and everything. And it was just a fun, cozy mystery type book for middle graders, and I think that adults would enjoy it too. I thought the mystery was very well done for a middle grade book. It was I thought it was a little easy to figure out, but it is middle grade, and I think it should be easier to figure out. But I also think if you're not somebody who reads a lot of mysteries, even for adults, it might take you a little bit longer to figure it out, but you still might figure it out. But it was still really good, and I really enjoyed it. And then now it's the bottoms. Okay, so here are my two bottoms for the month, and it's kind of a bummer that both of them actually happen to be in buddy reads that I did with my friend Barb, and she enjoyed both of these a little bit more than I did, but it happens. We have similar taste, but then at the same time, we have a lot of differences in our taste. And the first one I'm going to talk about is Later by Stephen King. I think my problem with this maybe is I had too high of expectations for it. I went into this thinking it's going to be a crime novel since it says hard case crime. Okay, so I'm thinking there's going to be a murder or a heist, or I mean, there's going to be some kind of crime that happens, and because this boy can see dead people, that he's probably going to help the policewoman, uh, find criminals or something maybe, and then things get a little out of hand because of the supernatural ghost thing, and that's not what happened. And so I think I had my expectations too high. I really liked his book The Outsider, which had that element of a crime that happened, a murder that they're trying to solve, and then it had supernatural things in it. And so I guess I was kind of thinking that this was going to be along the same thing. So don't think that going into this. To me, it's more of a coming of age novel with light supernatural horror in it, because it really wasn't scary at all. But it's about Jamie, and he's telling the story about how he's been able to see dead people since he was 6 years old, and what happened to him as he grew up being able to see dead people, and how the people around him kind of manipulated him growing up. First, it was his mother when she needed his help. She didn't want to acknowledge that he could see dead people, but then she needed his help because she is a literary agent, and the author that she had that was really high profile for them dies, and she really needs to talk to him about something, and so therefore she needs to use his ability to talk to him. And then Liz, who is a police detective, and she's corrupt, and that was one of the downfalls for me too, because maybe it's just because I've read too many lately, but I'm sick and tired of corrupt policemen or women. I'm tired of it, and so that just puts me on a rant. And so that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't like this book. The other is it just was really slow, and I didn't think anything really happened. But the crime part that I can see in this was because she needed his help because a bomber killed himself, but he left a note saying that he had a bomb somewhere. And so she wanted to use him to figure out where it was. And usually whenever he talks to a dead person, they go away within a couple of days, even hours maybe. But this time with the bad guy, he didn't seem to want to go away, and he kind of haunted him for a long time. And that was probably maybe the horror-y, supernaturally part of the whole thing. But even that, it was just, I don't know, it was boring. I just thought it was boring, I guess. I mean, that's really all I have to say about it. Is it was just boring. It was just a letdown. And so I gave it 2 stars. It was just bad. Then the next one is Your Turn to Suffer by Tim Wagner. And I really think that with this one is probably going to be my last Tim Wagner book. I have had fun with a couple of his books, but I never gave him anything over 3 stars. And then last year I read one and gave it 2 stars, and then I read this one and I gave it 2 stars. And so I'm just thinking really that his horror style is really not for me. It's a weird kind of style, and he goes in strange places with his horror. And for some people it will work out real well. My friend liked this one a little bit more than me. I think she gave it like 3 stars where I gave it 2 stars. But even for her, she said that she's not really that sure about Tim Wagner anymore either, because we're both kind of touch and go with him. But it was about this lady whose name I can't remember, but one day this person comes up to her, looks really strange, like got goat eyes or whatever, and tells her that she needs to confess and atone or suffer, and she has no idea what that person is even talking about. And she keeps going on, and then she ends up having these really strange dreams where she's brought to this place called the Nightway, and they do really bad things to her. But when she wakes up, she's like okay, but she still remembers things, and she has these people that keep coming up to her and telling her that she needs to confess and atone or suffer, and she has no idea. Nobody will tell her what she needs to atone for. And then she ends up in the Nightway, and things are happening while she's in the Nightway. Weird and strange things are happening in her hometown that has to do with the fact that she's not there. There's these black shadow creatures that are just killing everybody in this mall. There's some of her co-workers turn into these cat people, and I think that was where it lost me. And then some other strange things are happening, and my favorite character out of the whole book was this character that was in the Nightway, and his name was Edgar, but Barb and I called him the Bugman because he had the ability to kill people, because when he'd open his mouth, a whole bunch of bugs came out and they would devour the other person or whatever. I mean, that's telling you something when that's your favorite character. So yeah, but yeah, it just wasn't a book for me. It probably works for other people. It just didn't work for me. I don't know if my taste in horror is changing, because I do believe it is a little bit, and maybe that is just something I'm going to have to figure out as I go. What kind of horror books I'm enjoying now, because my taste in books in general change. I could be like get on a romance kick, and then I can get on a mystery kick, and then like right now I'm on a huge mystery kick and things like that. So it just could be that time I'm just not into it. I don't know. But anyway, that's my bottoms for the month, and then I'm just going to kind of give you a rundown of other books that I read during the month, and the ratings that I had for them. And so I read Final Exam by Carol J. Perry. It's number 8 in the Witch City Mystery series, and I gave it 4 stars and listened to it on audio. It's one of my, not favorite cozy mystery series, but one I enjoy. Then I read Death by Dumpling by Vivian Chen. I gave it 4 stars. That was a buddy read with the Bookish Bryans and some others. Elizabeth from Lizzie Faye Loves Books. I can't remember. Sarah from the Bookish Knitter, and Maya from I can't remember. But there were several of us and everything, and I enjoyed that one. And then Murder in Chinatown by Victoria Thompson. I gave it 4 stars. This was book 9 in the Gaslight series, so on my tops was book 10, and this was the one before. And then The Bickery Twins and the Phoenix Tear by Abby Elphinstone, I gave 4 stars to. I got this as an e-arc from Aladdin Books to read. And then Miss Frisbee and the Rats of Nymph by Robert C. O'Brien. I gave it 4 stars. I read Stuffed by Liz Braswell. It's number 1 in the Stuffed series, and I gave it 3 stars. It was cute, but it wasn't great. And then Across the Pond by Joe McCullough, I gave it 4 stars. I got this one to review from Simon & Schuster. And then I read Shelter Mountain by Robin Carr, which is number 2 in the Virgin River series. And I gave it 4 stars, and that was my other buddy read that I had for the month with my friend Barb. And we are really enjoying that series, and we will do number 3 sometime this year probably. And anyway, so that's the books that I read in the March. And if you've read any of these, or if any of these sound good, comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are on them. And if I piqued your interest with any of the books that I mentioned, everything, just talk to me down there in the comment section. And hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.